What's up, it's Damien with Clean Mud Videos. So my purpose in doing this video is to show you how to properly use your preamp. Cause see, when I started off, I was kind of clueless on how to get the right sound out of my preamp. I really didn't know what I was doing. I was just twisting knobs, and when I got something that sounded halfway decent, I was good with that. So I'm gonna try not to make this video too long, and I got some points that I wanna go ahead and cover. So I'm gonna share those with you right now. So the points that I wanna cover the input knob, I wanna cover the output knob, I wanna give you my recommendations for the levels that you should be recording at, and also I want to give you a tip to keep you recording inside of those levels so that you don't peak or that you don't have those quiet spots that you need to raise up later. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with the input knob. The input knob I'd like to refer to as the characteristic knob. So on your preamp, this is the knob that you will be adjusting to get whatever flavor that your preamp puts out. So sometimes you get a clean preamp, sometimes you get a tube-based preamp, and then sometimes you get a more colored preamp. And so your input knob, when you adjust the input knob, it will give you more sound of what that preamp puts out. And so your output knob will take whatever sound that you've created with the input knob and deliver that into your DAW. So in other words, if you want to hear more of what your preamp sounds like, hit the input gain a little harder than the output gain. But if you don't really want to hear a lot of what the preamp is actually putting out, then you would go lighter on the input gain, and then you would go harder on the output gain. Okay, now when we're talking about the recording levels, my ideal recording levels is anywhere between -6 and -12 dB. I want to always try to keep my source in between there, because one thing that can happen is that if you hit 0 or go close to 0, you can start to get peaks. And in digital recording, you really don't want those peaks. And then on the other hand, when you are recording too low, what can happen is you can introduce more noise coming from the noise floor. And what the noise floor is say you turn your preamp on, you got your microphone connected, and you don't have any sound going through it. Sometimes if you look into your DAW or you look into whatever you're monitoring your recording through, you'll see that you are getting some jumps on the screen without saying anything. The room can be completely quiet, but what happens is your preamp or your microphone or both of them put out an analog signal, and it can create a little bit of noise. So if you're recording too low, when you raise your vocal up or when you raise your sound up, what's gonna happen is you're gonna introduce that sound that you hear when nothing else is going. You'll introduce that sound into your recording. So if you have a hum, a buzz, or anything like that, that's what's gonna get introduced when you go to raise your source up, whatever you recorded. When you go to raise that up, that's what's gonna happen. You're gonna end up raising that sound up, and it's gonna equal a crappy recording for the most part. So in order to stay in between that -12 and -6 dB range that I talked about, one thing that you wanna do is you want to, when you're checking your preamps for volume and checking that system, you don't wanna talk low or play low. If you playing an instrument, you don't want to play low. You want to play the same way that you will record. So say if you was doing a rap vocal, you wouldn't want to start off and say, yeah, and this and that and this and that and this and that, and then when it's time to record, the music got you going, and so you gonna mess everything up, and those levels that you once set are no good. So if you feel like you will get loud or you will have some peaks in the recording, go ahead and set your levels by those peaks and stuff, so that when you do get to those levels, you don't peak over there and then cause a bad recording. So in saying all of this, I want to jump over to a few of the preamps that I have and show you and demonstrate some of the things that I was talking about. And so I have 3 different preamps that I'm using. I have the Neve 1073 LB. I also have the Retro 500. Which is a tube preamp, and then I also have the Grace Design, which is a more clean preamp or whatever. So you'll be able to hear the characteristics and the difference of all of these different preamps or whatnot. So with all of that being said, let's go ahead and jump over to these preamps. Okay, so the mic that I'm using is the Lawton Audio, the LA 220, and this is the first version. But anyway, I just wanted to show you these preamps right here. So the preamp that you are listening to right now is the Neve 1073 LB. And so, yeah, this is what the Neve sounds like. And so we'll turn some of the trim back to get more of the color, or well, we'll turn the trim back just so we can start to get more color. And check. So I'm raising the level of the Neve, the input gain, and this is the trim, which is the output gain. So the more you can hear more of the microphone itself, or you can hear more of the preamp itself, I'm sorry, but this will help you to be able to hear what I was talking about. Check. Yeah. So let's pull back and we can go up even more and you can hear more of the color of the preamp. But like I said, you have to adjust the output gain. And so going up, taking the input up and then the output down, you can actually hear the preamp working harder versus as opposed to, let me turn it back again. Here we go. Right here, you get a different sound, you get a different flavor out of that. So we'll go ahead and jump back over to, well, we'll go ahead and jump over to the Retro 500. So I guess what they say with a snap. Okay. And so now what you are listening to me on is the Retro Design 500, or the Retro 500. So like I said, here we go. If you do more of the input, you can hear that. And so the difference with this is a tube preamp. The Retro Design, I keep saying the Retro Design because this is the Grace Design, but the Retro 500 is, let me get some volume, but the Retro 500 is a tube-based preamp. So if you go more on your output, you just hearing what I dialed in with the input. So we'll go back. Check. So this is a bit of a different flavor. So we'll pull back on that. One thing with this, you can actually go and hear the characteristics of, there's actually 3 tubes in this unit. 2 of them are being engaged in low gain. When you switch it over to the high gain, then all 3 tubes will be engaged. And so let's switch it over. It'll probably get loud, so I'm gonna turn this output down. Check. So now if you can hear the difference and the distortion, you're getting the tube distortion out of this unit now. And so we'll turn it back a tad bit, turn the output up, and so it's less distortion. It's still more distortion, but it's less distortion, because if I turn it back and turn up more, you can still hear it's driving the tubes harder than it would be with the 2 tubes. But now you're just getting a more, I guess, calmer sound of the tubes, because I turned the output all the way up and I turned the input down a lot. So now if I reverse it, you'll hear more distortion from the tubes because the preamp's being driven harder. So let me go take some of that back. And now you can hear how driven the tubes are, but we'll turn that back. So yeah. So as you can hear the difference in this sound versus what I just done, the tubes are not being driven as hard. So like I said, less input and more output. And so it's just letting you see that. And then so we'll do another snap and we'll jump over to the Grace Design. Okay, so now what you are hearing me on is the Grace Design. So here we go. We got the input level. We'll turn it back a tad bit. So this is the sound that you are getting from the Grace Design. So we'll turn the input up. Check. Turn the
what's the name, turn the output back down. So check to hear more of what that sounded like. Check. So if you can hear, if we drive that sound more, you can hear more of that preamp, and we just delivering more into the DAW right there. Check. Yeah. Check. So you can hear the difference in the sound. So yeah, so we'll go extreme. So take it back. If you still want to hear more of that sound of the preamp itself, so we just pulled back on the sound delivering to the DAW, so you get more of that clean, crispy sound. So
Okay, so I hope that this was helpful to somebody, and I hope that this explanation has helped you to understand how to use your preamps properly. So if you like this video, go ahead and give the thumbs up. Also share the video, and then go ahead and subscribe, because I will be dropping more content like this. But until the next video, I'm Damien with Clean Mud Videos, and I'm out. Peace.